Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations, and today we're going to do kind of an Easter craft, but really it could be an anytime craft. But I am going to be using one of these big plastic hollow eggs from the dollar store. And the first thing that I need to do, quite honestly, is cut it in half. So to do that, you could use a saw. You could use a Dremel tool with the cutting blade and just have it rotate around and do that. You could very carefully do it with an X-Acto knife where you can kind of push it down in and slowly, glasses on, and slowly move it around. These things do have a visible seam, which gives you a bit of an idea of where to cut it, but I'm probably going to opt for my Dremel because I think that it will be easier and I have less chance of cutting myself. But you have the option of whatever works for you, whatever tool you have that's going to be able to cut it in half. So we need to do that before we do anything else. My idea for this though is I want to do this craft without using a lot of other expensive things. So meaning I'm not going to use any of my IOD clays or transfers or molds or any of those kinds of things. So you can use those and I'll explain to you when, where, why, and how you could do them. But I want to give you an idea of how you could do it very inexpensively and accessibly. So dollar store egg is our starting point. Cut it in half. Okay, I got my egg cut apart, and quite honestly, the X-Acto knife was awful, but the box cutter worked great. And I don't need it to be 100% perfect because I will do some edging around it. But I'm just going to get this little tiny lip off of it. Okay, so it lies fairly flat, but it'll be okay if it's not perfect because we're going to be doing other things. So what I have are two frames that I have thrifted from the thrift store. So this one's kind of nice because it's got some patterning on it. This one is just really plain, but it fits in there just fine. And we're going to be able to just kind of glue it down in place. So that we can, fingers out of the way, have a frame in a frame. Now this is where, you know, if you do have the IOD molds, they've got all kinds of the frame molds, right? That you could, just got a little bit of glue here that I want to get off without burning my finger. So they've got the frame mold. So you can start with this frame. You could use the IOD mold, the trimmings mold, or the frames mold to be able to build the internal frame. But you know what? I got this for $3, this one for like 75 cents. So not an expensive proposition. The next thing is my egg is going to go right in my middle. Now, I'm not too worried about gluing this perfectly. I just want it to kind of stay in place because I want to put some trim around here. And instead of kind of agonizing over the trim, meaning, you know, again, I could use the trimmings molds, I could do all kinds of things with IOD. What I'm going to do instead, because I have it, is I'm just going to use, I just want to cut off a little tag here. Oh my goodness. Okay. I just want to cut off the tag. I just have some wood beads. Now you could use a strand of cheap beads. I think at home I have some Mardi Gras beads. If I had thought to bring those in, I would have used those because that's really all that you need, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue this around my egg shape. I just want to give it some trim. It will also help hold my egg in place. And I'm just going to go all the way around. So don't think that you have to have a lot of the fancy molds and things if it's outside of, you know, your pocketbook, or again, if this is just one craft that you want to do and you're not sure that, you know, if you're not a major crafter and you don't want to have tons of molds hanging around because you just wouldn't get the use out of them, then there's always alternatives. And I wanted to give you an idea today of what you could do instead. So we're just going to create the texture here by using things other than my IOD stuff. And trust me, I have a huge stack of molds, so it would be pretty straightforward for me to grab one. And certainly if you do, then you can add in kind of whatever detail makes sense for you. To unify all of this, I am going to paint it all the same color so that it doesn't look all mismatched. It's all going to be one solid color, and I'm going to paint it in Casement by Fusion. So this is an all-in-one paint. It will self-seal, so it's going to take a couple of coats, and then once those coats are dry, we can come back and carry on with doing the next step of our process. All right, now this has had time to dry, and what I do want to add is a little decoupaged image here. So I happen to have these napkins. I have a pack of them. I have no idea where I got them. I just have a pack of them. And I like this guy. So what I did do is I separated out, I cut off the one square. They're just in two squares on this. I cut out the one square. I separated out the 2-ply sheet, so it's just a single sheet. And I cut out my little image. And I'm gonna add him to the egg. Because this is a matte finish, Fusion dries matte, I'm quite enjoying that and not a gloss. So I am using a matte. I would feel comfortable using a matte top coat, like polyacrylic. I just happen to have a Mod Podge matte. I am gonna paint the whole thing just so that if it adds any kind of a sheen, that there's a consistent look to the egg. But I'm going to just simply glue that bunny to the front. And I have him so he's kind of out there. And see, he just kind of goes perfectly from top to bottom. So I'm just going to kind of work him on there, let him dry, and then seal him up. Look how sweet. I mean, you could be done at this stage if you wanted and just leave it nice and plain. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit in terms of options more than anything. So, first of all, you could be done. You could just say, you know what? I just love the simplicity of this. I love just that little pale kind of gray and pink bunny in the center. I'm good. You could just take like a dark wax or an antiquing gel and just kind of add that into the details so that you get that aged effect. You could decide to go all out with a little bit of the Easter theme, and you could take some colors like Fusion's pale pink and pale yellow, and you could paint maybe like the pink in here and then the yellow in here, right? So it's still pale, it's still pastel, and then do some of your aging or antiquing if you'd like, right? So just know, like, there's always all kinds of different ways to go with something like this that is fairly simple looking, but that you can increase the complexity of the look by whatever finish you choose. You could just simply add wax to it so that it's wet, it's got a tacky surface, and then you could add mica powders like we've done, and so you get some shimmer and gloss in there. I'm going to go somewhat simple still, and I'm going to pull you in, but I'm just using a little bit of gold. And for this, I mean, you could use a gold paint, in which case I would dry brush it so it's not heavy. I mean, you could do a lot of gold if you wanted. I'm going to stay really pretty soft and delicate. So rather than using a gilding wax or a gilding paste, which are very opaque, like an Annie Sloan or like a Rub and Buff product, I'm going to use Golden Rule by DIY, which is very translucent. So you're going to see it's got a very light cast to it. I am going to add a little bit of faux crackle finish, but because I don't want this to be very harsh, and this is just like a little tiny mini dollar store crackle, you could use, there's bigger ones from IOD. I'm just using cheap, easy, accessible stuff for you. And I'm using gray ink rather than black ink, so that it still stays soft, okay? But I wanted to let you know, you can go in tons of different directions. I mean, if you had wanted, you could have first decoupage paper onto this frame before gluing this on, and decoupage a contrasting piece of paper in here before gluing this frame on. So you could have had layers of color and layers of pattern in, again, maybe kind of Easter looks and Easter patterns that kind of worked or fit. So there's always different ways to go. Now, to add just a little bit of interest, I just want to add a little bit of crackle finish here and there. And so I'm just going to be kind of dabbing this roughly into places so that it's just very kind of faint and it's not perfect, and I can keep using the same stamped area here and there so that, again, it just is faint as it continues to kind of build up around. So I'm not looking, you know, look, I haven't re-stamped it at all. And I'm not looking at doing, probably not much more than that. So again, you could do a real crackle finish if you wanted with a crackle medium, but that requires more products, and we're trying to keep this simple for you. So what I'm going to take is Golden Rule by DIY, and I love this because it's just got such a nice light finish, again, depending upon how heavy or how much you're using. But we've got some lovely details on this outside frame, and I want to highlight them a little, but it's not going to be in your face. Our little bunny is pretty delicate looking, so I just want to, you know, kind of stay in keeping with that and keeping it fairly neutral. So I'm making sure that I don't have a lot of this on my finger, and you can see there just the detail that it highlights. So I'm going to go around and do that on all of this, and then we'll come back and take a look at it, because then I think I'm done. This is our finished project. So you can see that soft gold, and I'll take a picture of it so you can see it better, but you can see how just that little bit of crackle Just that little bit of gold just kind of subtly sets it all off. Still keeps it light and pretty neutral. But again, you could go in any direction with this, depending upon the depth of color of maybe the image that you decoupage in there. You've got some stronger, you know, purples and mauves and pinks. Maybe you want to pull those in there. And again, you could have used different scrapbooking papers for each of those layers to add more color and make it more definitively Easter. This is pretty neutral. If you like bunnies, if you like rabbits, this could be an all year wall hanger, right? It could be a picture that you use at all times. Or just pull it for special occasions. Have it sitting on a buffet or credenza, just leaning against the wall as part of the decor. Use it as a shelf sitter, hang it on the wall. You've got a lot of flexibility. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this one. What would you do? Are you more the let's add color in there, let's add some textured papers in there perhaps? Would you have gone neutral? Would you want a stronger, bolder gold? Would you have gone silver or a different metallic? So many directions. What would you have done? Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Definitely looking forward to seeing you on the next one. And until then, take care.
Thank you.